All right, here we go. Turin Special Championships recap. First Chaos Rising tournament outside of Japan, of course. Japan did have a Chaos Rising or tournament in the Chaos Rising format. Of course, we're not going to look at that many deck lists here, so I'm going to look for some shouts from chat. I'll probably go down to like, see, I'm just going to skip all, I'm literally going to skip every single Dragapult deck. Actually, I'm going to maybe fully rely on chat here to look at deck lists. We'll scan through it and like pick out deck lists that look cool, I guess. And then I'll get some shouts from chat because, yeah, I'm not clicking on Pult 31 and then going to Pult 33 here. Not going to be doing that. But let's take a look at metagame to begin with, of course. Grand Pairing on. Almost 30% Dragapult, 29%. Still pretty close, obviously. Probably going to be similar moving forward, around 30% Dragapult. And then Ogerpon, Meganium, Hydrapple, and the Arboliva build. 7% under that. Zam 5%. Mega Lucario 5%. Raging Ball. Rocket's Honchkrow sticking around at that 4%. Actually, that's kind of surprising to me, to be honest. Slowking also 4%, which makes sense. There was a little bit of hype of Slowking going to the tournament, and everything else there. I mean, it's like it's hard to look at percentages. Only the first couple, like only like the second one actually really matters, to be honest. It's curious to know what is like the second and third most played decks, because then after that, it just kind of doesn't matter. The win rate here for Alakazam and Lucario both suffering. Although I think Alakazam naturally got worse, despite the Karis build being discovered. The Karis build unfortunately got discovered like late in the format. I think if the Karis build had been discovered early in the format, then we could have seen a lot more success from Alakazam. But the Karis build being discovered so late in the format hurt its potential success. And by the time it kind of got mainstream, Watchtower counts were increasing, and Special Red Card is now in the Chaos Rising format. So both those things really hurt the Zam. So not surprised to see it have a lower win percentage overall. Let's take a look at the conversion percentages. Those are the next most interesting number to look at. Usually we see like some kind of 100%, but yeah. Mega Diancie at 40%, not relevant, not relevant. The first kind of relevant number here is Crustle, but Crustle's number conversion rate isn't very relevant. It always has a super high conversion rate. The question is, will one or two of them go deep? And the answer for this tournament was no, none of them went deep. And Zoroark actually had a really good conversion rate. Actually, this has been a while since I think we've seen Enzoric do anything. Interesting. Yeah, Enzoric had a really, really good conversion rate. Let's see how did they do in the tournament overall? There's one in cut, and then it kind of drops off pretty heavily from there. But what if you day 2 showings? Oh no, not quite. Nicoline didn't even get top cut. Nicoline was right outside of top cut. So solid conversion rate, but it didn't translate into that much success in phase number 2. Veselid also a solid conversion rate, but I mean, no surprise, Veselid did not also make top cut. It has, yeah, kind of like one player up there, top 32, and then it falls off pretty heavily after that. So lead Slowking, also decent conversion rate there. And of course, this one had a little bit more success. They went pretty deep. Once again, it was kind of just like one person. There's like an outlier. Brett in here, of course, got second. And then, you know, the next highest placing one is once again a top 64 finish. Dragapult, of course, is going to be a whole different story. Great conversion rate. And then take a look at it. You know, there's 3 in cut, some in 16, some in 32, but obviously like such a highly played deck, it's gonna be a little bit different. Basic box, not even a single one in top 16 there. And then from there, nothing crazy to look at. Actually, we can look at the bad conversion rates. That's actually always one of my funnest things, one of my favorite things to do. Okie dokie, 13 players, 0. Same thing with the Marnie's Grimmsnarl, 13 players, 0 in phase 2. That's what happens when Mike is on the desk and not playing Grimmsnarl in the tournament. Ooh, the Cynthia's Garchomp, bro, no. 53 Cynthia's Garchomp players, 1 squeaked in. Same thing with Team Rocket's Mewtwo, 67, only 3 phase 2. And Mega Lopunny both all struggling there. Mega Lucario had a really tough time as well, 10% conversion rate. That is not good. That is really bad. Mega Greninja, I'm going to give a little bit of a pass here. Very underdeveloped archetype. A lot of people playing it a lot of different ways. The best way to play this deck really hasn't been discovered yet. So there's obviously a lot more to figure out with Mega Greninja. So Mega Greninja gets a little bit of a pass here despite having a bad conversion rate. Beedrill had a tough time as well. That's kind of sad. I'm not going to give the same excuse to Beedrill because there's not that much you can do with Beedrill, but I feel like no one's playing Rabsca. And personally, I think Rabska is the way. I also think Max Rod is the way, but it looks like everyone's on the unfair stamp train. So, I mean, when people are going to play bad beat, listen, if people are playing good Beedrill lists, possibilities are limitless, okay? If people pick up, dude, does no one believe in Max Rod, bro? Is it just me? Am I the only one who's a Max Rod enjoyer? We got Enriching Energies out here, unfair stamps for days. Bro, we got to stop trying to be like Dragapult, man. We got to stop trying to be like Dragapult. Max Rod makes too much sense. Nobody owns Max Rod? True, true. I'm gonna keep pushing the Max Rod propaganda until people finally catch on and put it in their Beedrill decks, because it's actually just insane. We're an aggressive deck that needs to respond to hand disruption. Why are we playing Unfair Stamp? What are we doing here? I guess Starmie had a rough time as well. So did Alakazam. Yeah, Alakazam had a rough time. Not only in the win percentage. I guess win percentage correlates with conversion rate, though, right? There's gonna be a little bit of a correlation there. Or poor win rate causes bad conversion. There's a causation there. There were a couple Max Rods. Oh, was there some people with the Max Rod? Rocket's Haunch. Ogerpon Meganium. Ogerpon Meganium had an okay. It was fine. Like 19% is definitely fine. Same thing with Rocket's Haunch. 17 is like fine. I think the fine range is like between 17 to 19 or something like that. It's somewhere in that range is like that. Okay, that's fine. This is like a good conversion rate. These ones are like okay, I think. Not bad. Could be better. Raging Ball actually had a decent time as well. All right, that's the conversion rate. So let's take a look at some deck lists. Now, some of these I've already like played with and talked about before, but we'll go over them. Hops Trevenant getting first place. I've got asked the question a lot about Hops Trevenant. If you haven't heard my breakdown of it before, I think it's a fine deck that might be a good play right now. And I think actually the biggest thing that carries Hops Trevenant is actually its matchup against everything that's not Dragapult. I think this deck is actually good against pretty much everything that's not Dragapult, or most things. Most things that aren't Dragapult, the deck is pretty good against. I think its biggest question mark is how good is its Dragapult matchup actually? I think Poltnor is probably the toughest one to deal with. But you see here, I mean, Jose beat 3 Poltnors on the way to the finals to eventually beat Brennan against the Slowking. So that's the one that I think is most iffy, for sure. Did lose to one of them there. Another big thing with these kind of results, and whenever I say these things, it's never to take away from people's runs. It's always just to add like more context to things. But like Jose knows the Pulp matchup way better than any of his Pulp players knows the Hops Trevenant matchup. So I guarantee the win rate in some of these, his win rate against Pulp probably suffers more if his opponents are more familiar. But that's the advantage you get for playing a more unknown deck, obviously. People are going to be a little bit more familiar with the Hops Trevenant moving forward, though. So that's going to hurt this deck's potential as a play. But yeah, there might be something here for Hops Trevenant. There really might be, because I think the Pulp matchup is solid for sure. I don't know fully where it lies between favored to unfavored. Also depends on the build you're up against. And then, like I said, I think the biggest thing for Hops Trevenant that it has going for it is that it feels like it's favored against everything else, basically. It feels like you're favored against literally every other deck in the format. And I think that's where its biggest strength comes from. So if you're feeling confident in your Pulp matchup, the deck's pretty strong for sure. It did beat Brennan with the Slowking in the finals. And it seems like we also saw a build of Slowking like this make go pretty far. Maybe not make top cut, I actually don't remember, at the Japan Championships. And it seems like people are starting to agree on the best way to play Slowking, which of course is with Kangaskhan and Latias. It's been that way for a while. But it seems like people are trying, and the list was very similar in terms of the attacking lineup. Just keep it simple. Just play the good attackers. The good attackers are Kyurem and Metagross. And we see that's what Brennan did here. Just 2 Kyurem, 2 Metagross. Just keep it simple. Play the best attackers, and then make the deck function around the best attackers as consistently as you possibly can. Of course, Shaman's a really bad... Shaman makes any matchup a really bad matchup, and Jose had the Shaman in the finals, so that was always going to be tough for Brennan to have a chance in that one. Some of the other key standouts here for me, though, is playing the Secret Box, of course. That's kind of the go-to. Is still playing double Switch card, though, despite no Cyclone or Prime Catcher. I really actually like the Surfer. I really like the Surfer Switch combination. So I think if you're playing Secret Box, you should definitely be playing Surfer Switch. And then the tool cards I'm a little bit less convinced on here. Is playing the Boomerang Energy build as well with the over like Power Glasses or something like that. Power Glass would still be a good play, I think. Power Glass is specifically strong up against... what else did Brennan lose to? And we can take a look. Oh, no, he just tied. He tied... Oh, no, he went undefeated, then ID'd twice, then lost. Undefeated to here. ID, win, loss. Yeah, Power Glass is specifically good against hammers. Boomerang Energy is like okay against crushing hammers. The problem is it doesn't like get it back again. The Lucky Helmet can also be pretty good against the crushing hammer build though, because what they do is if you get your Boomerang Energy on your Slowking, you attack, you recycle it, and they can't Itchy Pollen or Jet Headbutt you, which they really want to do, but you don't really want to Itchy Pollen or Jet Headbutt into a Lucky Helmet, obviously. But that's what like Pult Hammers likes to do. You get your Kieran play off, take away their board. They go Unfair Stamp, Itchy Pollen, or Unfair Stamp, Jet Headbutt with their final Dracloak. Kind of depends on what you KO'd on their board, whatever, if they have that option. But then you get the Lucky Helmet draw, which they don't want to give you. So then they all of a sudden don't attack you, and then you get to play your items, which can lead to Ultra Ball for Meowth for Surfer, it can lead to playing the Switch, whatever it might be. And obviously, if you get the Kieran play off turn 2 as Slowking, you usually have a couple turns to play with before your opponent really puts the pressure on you as well. And then also did choose to include the Brave Bangle, which can allow Metagross with the Slowking attack to KO Dragapult and Beedrill, and there might be a couple other things it does as well, but I don't actually remember off the top of my head. But Bangle obviously has some uses, but I think the Bangle like overall is like a pretty iffy inclusion. It's like not necessary. Yeah, definitely not necessary to run. It's kind of just if you want to run it or not, or if you think it's right for the metagame. I have to like go through the list of all the situations where it's actually good to like think about if it's warranted. If it's better than just a Power Glass. I feel like but if you play Power Glass, you wouldn't play Lucky Helmet. That's kind of the thing as well, I feel like, is like you have to pick between Power Glass and Lucky Helmet. I think you're picking between one of those two because they kind of fill the same role against Dragapult. Against most other matchups, you don't really care about them because the Boomerang Energy covers that situation. What about the no boss? I mean, that's just the go-to. Nobody plays boss in Slowking. Boss is kind of just terrible in Slowking. Like, you just can never have time to use it. It just never happens. Oh, yeah, Hydrapple has 330. Good point. Hydrapple has 330. So it's good against Hydrapple. Power Glass is a trap. I disagree. It's good against Pole Hammers. It's good against Pole Hammers. It's as good as Lucky Helmet is against Pole Hammers, I feel like. If you get Lucky Helmet plus a Boomerang Energy cooking on a Slowking and you put 2 energy back, like, they're scared for sure. Is counter game valid for early game energy cheating? No, you'd always just play another Wondrous Patch. You want to be the aggressor as Slowking. You're drawing the first prize cards. Yeah, boss is just bad in this deck because you can never use it. It's like impossible to ever be able to use the boss. So like Prime Catcher is good if you're gonna play a Gust Effect, but the question is Prime Catcher better than Seeker Box or Scoop Up Cyclone? That becomes the question. And we see Brenning here thinks no. The best thing to go with is just the Seeker Box, which makes sense. Spectre the play moving forward for Shamans? No, Spectre is pointless against Shaman. It doesn't do anything. You'd rather just KO their active or something at that point, or use Kyurem but don't hit the Shaman. Just hit all the EXs that are in play. Would you sign my GG Mata NASE? Yeah, sure. The reason to play Spectrier, I mean, I guess maybe that is a good enough reason to include the Spectrier, I guess. Like, there's other reasons. Spectrier has never been a way to, like, deal with Shaman. It's always been a way to, like, bypass Shaman to, like, KO the Dracloak anyway, or to clean up a Dracloak or Dragapult off the bench if they run it away after you punch it. It's, like, okay. Spectrier is like very okay. It's like very okay. Very mid card. Maybe with the Shaman increase we're expecting, it'll be worth it, but I don't think so. Spectrier is not an answer for Shaman, but it was a better answer. Yeah, but it would maybe even be better. I maybe agree with that as well, yeah. But also, Pult probably won't be playing Shaman anyways. I mean, it's not just for Pult, though. The decks that you would hope wouldn't include Shaman are stuff like Alakazam and... But if Alakazam has Shaman, you lose. Like, the thing is, Pult's probably not going to play Shaman. The only deck that it's like, if they play Shaman, you would maybe want Spectrier would be Pult. But Pults probably aren't going to switch to Shaman. They are either going to learn how to play the matchup better. That's step 1, is always learn how to play the matchup better. Or 2, they're going to play more Rare Candies, which is also a counter to Slowking. And then you would question whether or not you want Badoo. The decks that Slowking really does not want to pick up Shaman are stuff like Beedrill and... Beedrill and Alakazam, and then Spectrier does nothing in those matchups. Like, you using Spectrier to KO their Abra with an energy, they go, okay, cool, Candy Alakazam, put it in the active knockout anyways. So, the only situations where Spectrier would be good would be decks. And also, they could just, if you go after the Shaman, they just recover their Shaman, and they don't care either, so. It's, yeah, the Spectrier is like super mid as an answer to Shaman. Super, super mid. Not good. Coffer Grease is decent to Shaman. Not really, because you're spending 2 cycles to Cofagrigus twice to KO Shaman. Doesn't Cofagrigus just put 6 damage counters on Shaman? So you have to do it twice. And by then your opponent's going to have KO 2 Slowkings in your active. And you have KO'd nothing else because they would have evolved it all up at a range. And then you just lose the game. No, Cofagrigus is terrible into Shaman. Your opponent will never care about Cofagrigus. No chance. Yeah, moving forward, I think this 60... I mean, I still really like Prime Catcher and Scoop Up Cyclone. I would probably play Scoop Up Cyclone. But... And then I wouldn't play the tools as well. If I'm not going to play Secret Box, I don't think the tools are worth it. But... I could be convinced that Secret Box is the way to go if I played more with it. But I'm probably not playing Slowking for NASC, so I'm not thinking about it too hard. Yeah, that was Brendan Slowking. Rest of Top Cut. I mean, we got a couple Pult Chickens here. Has a special red card. It's kind of like the more classic build that we saw at the beginning of post-rotation. Risky Ruins Watchtower. No Area 0 like we saw over in Japan. Another Pult Chicken here. Area 0 Under Depths. Team Rocket's Watchtower. Special red card. This one does have the Area 0 Under Depths, but it doesn't have the Chin Pow, so you can't aggressively bump it. You just get to go wide. Oh, no Combuskin is crazy, I feel like. Isn't like the point... Am I trolling? Isn't the point of playing Blaziken is to like set it up in the mirror match against the Pult Hammers? Like that's one of the big points. Like if you just get item locked out of getting to your Blaziken and they KO your Torchics, like what's the point? Don't you completely lose all the value? Not being able to set this up in mirror match seems like it's not worth playing. Like not being able to get to it. Yeah. Like what are... Like I feel like not being able to get to it in mirror to have it as a threat more aggressively. I mean, you could just bench double Torchic, and then it's going to be hard for them to KO double Torchic, but... Yeah. Better to take out a Torchic over a Dreepy? I don't think that's true. Yeah, I think it's kind of... Yeah, not having Combuskin is kind of crazy to me, to be honest. Even in other matchups where you want to chain back-to-back Blaziken, having that to make it easier to get into your Blaziken makes sense as well. I don't know about that. They do have Shaman... They cut Combustion for Shaman. Well, no, they definitely cut the Combustion for... I mean, they don't have to... Nothing has to be cut for anything. They play through Rare Candy, though. So, like, you can just cut a Rare Candy for a Combustion, obviously. Nothing needs to be directly cut for anything, though. It's not just because they don't play this, it has to be this, or this to this. It's just... They play through Candy and no Combustion. Or they just don't play Combustion. It doesn't matter what they put in over it. It's not relevant. Could be anything. They could have added the second Dark Energy, for all we know. I'll look at the final Dragapult here. We'll just look at the top cut Dragapults, but Pult Hammers, Double Watchtower, only 3 Crushing Hammers. All Hammers, man. Yeah, there's not going to be as many interesting deck lists to look at in these tournament recaps because there's just so much Dragapult. But we take a look at the slop here. One is Raging Bolt, basically just the Ian Robb Raging Bolt. And then the interesting Clefairy box deck that Emma Hagen played. All Out Blitzel, I believe, does get the credit for the list. Much more of a Clefairy deck than anything. I have played a little bit with this deck as well, and the deck's fine. It's very much an anti Dragapult deck, obviously, with 4 Clefairies in it. And besides that, it doesn't have that much else going on. You got Torrential Pump. You can Torrential Pump. That is the thing you can do. And then you have a couple other tech attackers in here for the metagame. Moltres for grass decks, and then Koraidon in here as well for Lopunnies and other Kangaskhans. Stuff like that can return KO those Pokemon. So, yeah, cool take on Slop for sure. I played a little bit with the deck, like I said. It's a pretty cool build. It doesn't feel that much different than other Slop decks, though. My favorite build of Slop is still... I think what won the Japan Championships. I think that is like the best way to play Slop is the Japan Championship winning deck. You can maybe even just take that 60 and run it, to be honest. That 60 is like pretty good. Maybe I should play with more with that today. All right, I like that idea. Good idea, chat. All right. Alakazam and cut, and it was just kind of the Karis build. Actually, it might be the Karis exact same 60. Just has a special red card in here over... I don't know. But it's minus something from what Karis played, plus a special red card. LGM. No LGM? Interesting. No LGM is definitely interesting. I'm sure your Pult matchup is still pretty good. I felt like the LGM was like really, really good for like mid-game plays, though. Yeah, no helmet plus the air balloon as well. So two changes from the Karis 60. But nothing too well, I mean, I don't know. I feel like the LGM is pretty crazy, actually. That's actually a really interesting cut. I'd love to know why they felt like cutting it was correct. For sure. All right, I'm not going to look at any other Pult decks here, but I think it's worth looking at. We can take a look at the Hydrapples, see if they brought anything cool, just special red card. Actually, I think both of them literally are just basically Hydrapple plus special red card. Yeah. And then Zoroark here from Nicoline. It is kind of the everything Zoroark build. The only thing that's not in here is Reshiram. I believe this is a take on the build that Hermione played at the last European Major, and the only addition is a special red card. I'm not sure what the change is, but it's just minus something plus special red card here as the adjustment. But yeah, this is the everything Zoroark deck. Still trying to have everything in here. Darmanitan. No Reshiram. Like I said, Reshiram's the only thing missing. Tool Scrapper. Okay, yeah, no Tool Scrapper plus special red card, it looks like. Munkidori, Darmanitan, Yveltal. Trying to make it all function, all work. The only thing that's missing in a build like this, in my opinion, is like having Tatsugiri or having Meowth. But obviously, when you have stuff like Yveltal and Darmanitan, if you're trying to make that stuff work, and always having Petron in play, like Petron is your main mobility card in this list, then you're not going to have as much room for stuff like a Tatsugiri or a Meowth on your bench. Also has no bench fixing cards like Scoop Up Cyclone or Tomes. Obviously, you have no room for that, and you're playing the Secret Box. All right, chat, this is where I'm going to rely on y'all. Is there any other interesting decks to look at here? I'm looking for interesting builds. There was a... This is actually... this build inspired me to, like, relook at Diancie Dusknoir the other day. It's one of the builds I looked at that inspired me to relook at Diancie Dusknoir. Does play the 1/1 Bronzong. That does sound considerably obnoxious for Dragapult to deal with. I don't think that's the win condition, though, right? You're not trying to win through the Bronzong. You're just trying to slow them down and then pop a bunch of Dusknoirs, right? Like, that's the play here. You slow... Because you can't win with the Bronzong. You don't have Pat Rat, so they can Munkidori the damage you're dealing back to your side. You don't have your own Munkidori. And then they can Mind Bend you or Cruel Arrow you. But you slow them down, set up some Dusknoirs and Dusclops, pop a couple things, take over the game. Although I think this deck already has... I like the Bronzong feels like it's almost probably better against other stuff like Festival Lead, right? Because, like, you already have a good Dragapult matchup, right? It is so annoying for Zoroark. Oh, it'll also be a win condition against Zoroark, true. Yeah, I feel like it's almost stronger in those kind of matchups, right? It's like stronger against stuff like Zoroark or Mega Greninja or Festival Lead. I mean, you can use it against Pulp, but your Pulp matchup is already so good. Nah, Mochi scratch that thing. Yeah, Mochi scratch it, and then they pop Dusclops, which KOs the active. Oh no, you don't have 10 on there. Yeah, but then they pop a couple Dusknoirs and KO your active, and you're out of Zoruas, so I think they're okay with that. But that's like the point. The point is it just delays you while they set up their Dusknoirs, and then the Dusknoirs take over the game. Dusknoirs board wipe you, and then Diancie knockout, and then you just lose. Getting that extra turn, or maybe even 2 turns, it's gonna be a pretty big difference. Our hand. 277. What was the secret sauce? Okay, we'll look at 277. 74. Okay, and I'll do 74 first. I'll make my way down here, and y'all can shout out numbers for me to do it. Oh, Soda's. We already took a look at Soda's list. Yeah, it's Transformation Tome, Zoroark from Eric here. 74th place. I played with this build the other day. It was actually pretty good. I liked it. It felt good. The Tomes... It almost felt like I was playing... Often I was playing a 73 card deck, but besides that, the idea of the Tomes is very cool. The idea of the Tomes is cool. I did play with it the other day. They were okay. The Tomes were all right. The Tomes were very okay. Nothing crazy. Dude, 2 Tomes is the way? Bro, you're never going to find it. 73? 57. It felt like a 57 card deck most of the time. My bad. 112. What happened at 112? Unknown. What could it be? It is... Oh, Crustle. Okay. Not very interesting. You play the Sacred Charm for the second Crustle? Or maybe for the first Crustle, and then you could Hero Escape your Kangaskhan if you want to keep it around longer? Had the Articuno and the Kangaskhan in here as techs for Alakazam, and then one more Melodic as a tech for Poltnor for the most part, right? It's really good against Poltnor. What matchup is the Punk Helmet for? It's good against Pult. It's good against stuff like Beedrill or Hydrapple. Anything where you need the Mochi damage to fix math, it fixes the math for you, basically. But it does it a little bit more proactively. And you don't need Pecharunt. So that's the idea, is you don't play Pecharunt, and then it gets you the Mochi math without having to play Pecharunt. The Mochi damage without having to play Pecharunt. Would you swap the Unfair with Scuba for Zoroark deck? I mean, that's what I'm currently playing in my build right now, yeah. Or Chaladon at 119. Arch to Dun. Arch to Dun, Prism Towers, playing the Hero's Cape. 2 Fan Rotom. 2 Fan Rotom. Oh, I guess they don't play a ton of Poffin, so they're really trying to get the Dunsparces going early through the Fan Rotoms there. An absurd amount of draw power. I feel like they're missing a card. Oh, they only played 1 Black Belt's Training. That's curious. No Meowth. But I guess you have the Dunsparce to kind of help smooth things over, so it's probably not terrible. And then the... yeah, only 1 Black Belt's Training feels a little bit iffy in the current form. Black Belt's Training is a super important card to beat Dragapult, so... 1 Felipe for the Mawile combo at the end of the game. No Meowth is kind of weird with a 1-1-1 supporter line. Yeah, a lot of 1s, but you're going to see a lot of cards. I mean, once you like use some Prism Towers plus Explorer's Guidance, you're going to have to thin out the deck pretty aggressively at that point, so I could see it. I could see Meowth not being necessary. It's kind of cool to just play Meowth because it just like plays more games, and it never feels like that big of a liability, but I can understand it. And they're also playing the Baby Archaladon as well in here to beat the Raging Bolts, which I guess is like considerably powerful enough, or is reasonably powerful enough to worth considering. Does the Rocket Kanga actually beat Alakazam? They can still E-Hammer away all the special energy and loop to Dunsparce until the cross deck decks out. Yeah, it does. Well, you have to play enough basic energy, but yes, it will win. Well, honestly, this list I could see not being able to beat it. Hold up. The list we looked at maybe doesn't beat it. Hang on, let me find the list again. Was it 119? I don't know. Where the heck is it? Am I trolling? Surely eventually we can find it here. 112, 112. Dude, I'm trolling. It's right there. So what could happen with this against Kangaskhan, or this against Alakazam? What could happen is... No, this would beat Alakazam. Well, see, I don't know. I don't actually know if this does beat Alakazam, because one of the problems is if you don't open the Articuno or the Kangaskhan, like if you open Mega Kangaskhan and you go attach water, if you open Mega Kangaskhan, what do? I don't think this actually beats Alakazam. Someone tell me what you do. You open Mega Kangaskhan or Crustle. You open Mega Kangaskhan or Crustle. What do? Like, what's your play? Like, let's say you do that, and you bench the Articuno and the Kangaskhan EX. Bench Articuno. Okay, you bench Articuno. Okay, now what? Now what do you do? You bench Articuno, then what? Then what do we do? I'm not like, what if I just don't KO your active Mega Kangaskhan? Like, I'm literally, what if I just don't KO your active Mega Kangaskhan? What do you do? Then you switch, and then I boss it back up. Then what? Attach Articuno. Okay. Pass. Fine switch. Okay, then I boss your Mega Kangaskhan back to the active. What do? I have Dedenne set up with an energy. He's chilling. We're hanging out. Start swinging with Kang? Well, no. As soon as you attach a special energy to Kangaskhan, I'm Enhanced Hammer and Dedenne it back to my hand. I actually think this doesn't... I'm not sure this actually beats Alakazam. I'd actually have to see it play out in real life to know this actually beats Alakazam. I actually don't know if this actually beats Alakazam. I think Alakazam technically would still win unless you open the Kangaskhan or the Articuno. If you open Kangaskhan Articuno, then I think you win. But if you open Dwebble or Mega Kangaskhan, I think you still just lose. Don't you get 11 attacks? No. Because if you don't open Articuno and Team Rocket's Kangaskhan, I'm just gonna not KO your Mega Kangaskhan, and your Mega Kangaskhan is gonna be stuck in the active. We have double water, so you can't get enhanced. Okay, but if you open Mega Kangaskhan, Mega Kangaskhan is in your active. If you attach water to Mega Kangaskhan, I'm just gonna KO your Mega. I'm gonna just KO the Mega Kangaskhan when you go to attach the Mist. I'm a punch of 2 water forever? No, because I would just boss up your Dwebble, your Mega Kangaskhan again back to the active, and then you can't retreat those back into the Team Rocket's Kangaskhan. You need to play more than 2 basic energy, I think. I think if you actually want to beat it, you actually have to play more than 2 basic energy. So we'll assume the Zam player will have it all. They can brick 2, I guess. Dude, what do you mean? They cycle their deck at, like, Mach speed. Like... You cycle the deck literally at Mach speed. Like, you're just going to go through your deck and then have everything. Don't you outcast it in a War of Attrition with 4 Lily? Well, no, Alakazam can't deck out, though. It's impossible for Alakazam to deck out. I would actually want to, like, play the matchup to see if it happens. Zero-6? Zero-6 doesn't matter. You have no energy in play, and I have the Dene and the active recovered in my Enhanced Hammer. And then when you Zero-6 me, I have 2 Dunsparce on the board cycling. So when you Zero-6 me, I just hold Lana's Aid, Enhanced Hammer, Boss. And then I have an out to every situation you do. More switches? I think it just has to be more basic energy. But I was trying to come up with, I think you still win. Like, I think Alakazam with the Dene Enhanced Hammers actually still beats, like, this build. Or it should. Now, whether or not it will end up happening, I guess is the question. But, because, yeah, you could also just prize Articuno or Kangaskhan, and then you're kind of in trouble. Yeah, I would want to see how it, I'd want to see how it worked, for sure, to be honest. Definitely want to see how it worked. But I feel like Zam would win. I'd have to actually play the matchup, though. I'd have to actually play it. Because you can also just get aggressive, right? If you're playing this deck and you open 10 Kangaskhan, you can just, like, attach, miss, attach, miss, attach, just start swinging. And you can win the game that way, so. Have we looked at my boring-ass Pult list yet? No, we're not looking at Pult lists. I'm ignoring all Pult lists. I think that's all the interesting decks from the tournament. Unless someone else has anything else to shout out here. This was a pretty boring tournament overall, to be honest. A lot of Dragapult. I'm not looking at Dragapult lists. Look at the Decidueye at 342. Yo, Desi in day 2. 342, Decidueye. Oh, the Celebi makes... Oh, but how do you get into the Celebi aggressively, though? That's hard to do, right? Actually playing 3 of them, so you're trying to start Celebi. What? This Rella has 2 retreat costs? We can't even get into the Celebi. Wait, is there like a mobility card that I'm missing here or something? Scatterbug has 1 retreat cost, I guess, at the very least. Man, that's tragic. Why is this Rowlet so thick? Is there not a 70 HP Rowlet? Metagross at 80? Alright, we can check 80. 27? I think we already took a look at 27. 80 here. Metagross. Oh, it is the Metagross box. Deck's very cool. I think they made their way on stream at one point as well. Yeah, because they have the Articuno, Kangaskhan lineup in here. Now, Articuno and Kangaskhan in this deck would beat Alakazam. That would beat Alakazam. But in the other deck, I'm not so sure. In the Crustle deck, I'm actually not so sure. I actually like the Hassel. Ooh, the Hassel. I had Lily in my build. I think the Hassel is probably just better though. I really like the Hassel in here actually. That's super cool. Hassel, Brock Scouting, Brock's is like fine. I think the Brock Scouting is a little bit too hopeful. I assume it's for like if you get Itchy Pollen, you can go Petrol for Brock's to play the game, but that's... Yeah, no, that's a little bit too hopeful, I feel like. Just put a second boss in the deck at that point. A little too hopeful. Also has the Felipe in here. Felipe's interesting. I've never been a big fan of the Felipe personally. I guess I like the idea of Felipe for like late game, right? That's when you use Felipe, just to like use your second Metagross attack or something like that. So I understand the value of Felipe for sure to get like that final Metagross attack off. But yeah, definitely an iffy card, obviously. Definitely an iffy card. If you just like play more energy or another recycler, functionally they're close to the same thing. Not exactly, because sometimes you don't have any Metang left and you only have Metagrosses in play, so that's where it would kind of fit into like that niche situation to cover for you. But yeah. All right, that's it. That's a turn recap. Honestly, not too much to take a look at here because it is so much Dragapult, but that is the format, so